Jaylen Brown did not shut down the idea of joining the Atlanta Hawks. I repeat, Jaylen Brown did not shut down the idea of joining the Atlanta Hawks. If anybody's been on socials today, they're going to have seen the clip that the Dunk Central posted of Jaylen Brown in a local Atlanta radio station being asked whether he would play for his hometown team.
Is there any chance?
Come on, T.
Ever?
This stands for everything.
This
You never
rules.
know.
This rules. I gotta play by the rules too.
Okay.
Is there any chance that we see you in a hometown uniform?
You never know.
Okay.
What's the rules? What rules you got to play by?
I mean, I work down there, so I have to, I don't need nobody calling me like, "What you was doing?"
Tampering.
Yeah, right. I ain't doing that. Just I would love to see you play for the hometown.
Nah, I feel you. Nah, I think my grandma would too.
Your grandma been talking to you about it?
Yeah.
Look,
That's the biggest pressure there is.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, but you never know. We'll see.
Jaylen didn't say yes, but he also didn't say no, noting that his grandma has actually mentioned that she would like to see him suiting up for the Hawks. And you can never say never when it comes to the NBA. I'm your boy, Adam Taylor. I'm joined by my homie, compadre, co-host in crime, the one and only Wayne Breezy Brown. We're going to dive into it right now. Wayne, what is popping, brother?
Nah, man, nothing much. It's just a long off season, and we're gonna be gearing up really soon, man. Celtics basketball is gonna be back sooner rather than later. I think the new 2K, I think it dropped or whatever. I feel like my boy has been playing it, and I haven't been paying him any attention, so I have no idea what's going on in the video game world other than Madden. But nah, man, it's good to be here, man. It's good to talk Boston Celtics,
Yo, so what are you feeling? Do you feel like, one, I haven't played 2K either. I'm not even going to lie. I've been crushing that WWE 2K at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to dive in. Jaylen Brown, he's got a lot on his shoulders this year. It's going to be the number one option on offense, potentially the number one option on defense too. We're a few weeks out from training camp, a few weeks out from the season starting after training camp starts. And JB decides he doesn't want to shut down an idea of playing for Atlanta. The response you gave me when I sent you that clip was, that's cap. So I want to start there. I want to start with, why do you think it's cap? And then whether or not this is a reason for Celtics fans to be a little bit more cautious as we get closer to the end of this current contract, which is a few years away, but you never know what could happen.
I mean, I said it's cap because I just don't think it's right now. Like, you know what I mean? Is it something that can happen in the future? For sure, because you got to look at all the, you got to look at the content and which it brings. He's from there, family's there, and it would be good to. It's always a good feeling to go back home and play do what you love to do and play basketball. You know what I'm saying? I think that's every player's dream, to play at home. But he's made a home in Boston, and he's getting an opportunity to be the guy. And it's funny because I feel like he it's weird. It's like Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. They're both the guys. It's like 1A, 1B for me because they both have done what they needed to do to bring the chip home to Boston. So Jaylen Brown this season, he's going to get those opportunities. We'll talk about what we expect to see from him later on, but I'm not going to say it's not. I said it was cap because I just don't think that's right now what his mindset is. I mean, they asked him a question, he left it open. You know what I'm saying? To where you can decide: is he going to go? Is he going to stay? And if it happens, it happens. I mean, at that point, it's the end of the contract. And we have no idea what the new owner is going to be like when it comes down to having players and re-signing players and extending players and things like that. So I get it. It's new ownership. And so who knows what's going to happen in the future. But for right now, it's cap to me. Like, I just don't think his mindset is on that. I think his mindset is simply this season left a bad taste in my mouth. I'm ready to come out here and give it all I got.
I think for me, looking at his contract right here, I got it pulled up, right? So he's in the second year of a 5-year deal. No player option, no team option. So there's 4 more years left on this deal. He gets $53 million this year, $57 million next year, $61 million the year after, and then just shy of 65 million in 2028, 2029. He'll be 32. Jalen's 29 now. I think that the Celtics are building around JB and JT for one more push. This whole retooling thing that we're looking at right now, the way the roster's kind of like what it is, and it's not going to be great. I think that this is designed to slowly rebuild around Jaylen and Jason. I do not believe the Celtics would willingly trade him just yet. Now, there's caveats here, right? So the first caveat is if Jaylen has an amazing season as your number one and then needs to go back to being a number two next year behind Tatum, he might not want that. He might be like, yo, he'll be turning 30 next year. He might be like, yo, if it's not now, then it might be never, because by the time he comes to the end of this contract, he'll be coming towards the end of his prime. If he does want to lead the team, it's sooner rather than later at this point. And he might look at Atlanta as a place where it's a young roster that might need a leader. Why don't I try and go there and see what I can do back home in front of my hometown crowd, be near to family? So there's that aspect of it where he could be like, yo, I want to trade. I also find it really interesting that this comes a day after ESPN's Tim McMahon said this about Trae Young. So he said for Trae Young, the long-term outlook for Trae Young in Atlanta is murky at the minimum. This is a guy who's been face of the Hawks for 7 years, averaged 25 and 10, just led the NBA in assists. Offensive production has been elite, but there are question marks about whether he's going to be in a long-term marriage with the Hawks. Young has a player option for next season. He's under contract this season, has a player option for next season. He could opt out and then either re-sign with Atlanta or sign elsewhere in the NBA as a free agent. If that happened, Atlanta would need a star to kind of like bolster this team that they're building. And Jaylen Brown definitely would be among the top names on that list, especially if he balls out this year. So I think there's a world where this is all conjecture, and I'd much rather him stay because I think Tatum and Brown as a core is a championship core that you can build around. But there is a world where he might look at Atlanta next year and be like, yo, Trae's leaving. They need a number one. I don't really want to fall back into being a number two. I'm under contract for a while. If they can make the money work, or if Trae opts in and you do a deal around Trae that can kind of match that cash, what if they do that, and then in return Boston gets off of Trae's contract a year later and frees up nearly 70 million in cap space, 50 million, sorry.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's gonna come down to the new owner, the people dealing with the money, the finances, and what their plans are for the foreseeable future. I just feel like I don't think Jaylen Brown looked at himself as like a number two. No. He's not getting paid like a number two. And so I think even with Tatum here, I know you got the, the talking heads. They always want to put those two against each other like they're the Clash of the Titans. I don't get that vibe from those guys. I think it's all about role and responsibilities.
Yeah.
And when Jason Tatum is here, Jason Tatum takes the fallback role of, all right, I'm going to be the facilitator. I'm going to be the playmaker. I'm going to be this guy. Jaylen Brown, you be the dynamic scorer. You be the guy, like, you know what I'm saying? I think they both accept that that's who their roles are. Now, when Tatum's not playing, what do we see Jaylen Brown do? He drops in kind of sort of like that Jason Tatum role. All right, I'm going to get you guys going. I'm going to be the facilitator. I'm going to be that guy. I think it's role responsibility here in Boston. It's not one, it's not two. And yeah, Tatum is the highest paid Celtic player, but Jaylen Brown once was the highest paid Celtic player 1 year prior. So maybe he want to go somewhere and be the main guy. It all depends on how many chips we win. If we win, let's say he has 4 years left on his deal, you said?
Yeah, 4 years, including this year.
So let's just say this year they don't win it. But then the next year they win one. I could possibly see him looking to move on. 2 championships, and he might want to look to get traded if the team is willing to trade him. I could see that happening. But we got to win within the next 2 or 3 years again. Until then, I think it'll leave bad taste. That Jaylen Brown is not going to start something new unless he finishes something. And I think his goal and mindset is to continue to win championships.
I think that's fair. I think that the likelihood of him even asking to leave is incredibly low. There'd have to be an issue behind the scenes that appears out of nowhere that creates the need for him to go. And he's been there for so long and he's so important to the team that I just don't see how that issue arises or occurs. I think that he knows that he's loved in Boston. There's a huge section of the fan base that is incredibly pro Jaylen Brown. And I think that the biggest issue we have is the problem that there's two sections of the fan base, and one's pro JB and one's pro JT. And that clashing all the time definitely makes its way out into the social media world. And rather than just being like, yo, they've got two elite guys. And look, I'm definitely on the camp where I think Jason Tatum is a more complete player than Jaylen Brown. I think Jaylen Brown is a more dynamic interior scorer than Jason Tatum. I think that they both complement each other's game. I personally do not want to see them split up anytime soon. But
it'll be hard.
I also understand that Atlanta would be a draw. That's like saying St. Louis gets an NBA team next year. and it's like, oh, well, you know, Jason Tatum's not going to go there. Yes, he is. He's not going to think twice, dude. He won't think twice because home is home, right?
Home is home. It's hard to fight against home. Like, and sometimes, again, it comes down to accomplishments. You know, most of the time, players are loyal to those teams that are loyal to them, right? Yeah. And so the Celtics, under the older owner, Wick, was very loyal to the players that Ainge brought in here, and Brad Stevens made sure that those guys got taken care of, right? And so it's new ownership, and I'm hoping that doesn't change the tide a little bit. Because I don't know how much of the ownership is going to have in the basketball operations. You know, is he going to be like a football reference. Is he going to be like a Jerry Jones type of ownership where he want to be all in the decisions? Or is he going to just fall back and let Brad Stevens continue to control and run the team? Will they have a ripple? And so, like, for me, even the type of player that I am, the person that I am, I'm very loyal to those that took care of me. I in the school system, when I found out that, you know, the person that hired me was leaving, I said, I'm out.
Yeah.
I had zero problems making that decision. It was so easy because I knew the person that hired me, whoever was coming in, wasn't going to be able to replace that person. And my loyalty to that person was just like, now I might have to suffer for a new job. But I didn't care. I just knew that the type of support that I was getting from the person that hired me, I wasn't going to get anymore. And so it was just like, nah, I'm loyal. Now I'll try to go where she is. If not, I'll just fall back. You know what I'm saying? So I could see JB and Jason Tatum being in that loyalty category, but maybe it's close, not to the ownership, but maybe closer to Brad Stevens. So if something happened to Brad, it can change the tide a little bit. Like, you know what I mean? I'm hoping that it doesn't. I mean, I forgot our new owner's name, but he has the best damn front office coaching system. Shout out to our coach with the extension. Like just we're set in the front office, the coaching as of right now, and I think we're even set with the team. I'm excited to see what some of these new Celtic green players are going to look like this upcoming season with Jaylen Brown at the realm. Like, you know what I mean? It's going to be really exciting. I think the Celtics are going to be very exciting this year without any expectations because we know Jason Tatum is not going to play.
Yeah, and I think that his name's Bill Chisholm, by the way.
Chisholm. I couldn't remember the last name.
Chisholm.
Mess it up.
Nah, I'm the same. Chisholm. I'm destroying it too. What I will say is I think you've hit the nail on the head with loyalty, but I also think that it's interesting in the sense that if you go and buy a house and you spend $2, $3, $4 billion on a house, are you going to leave that house exactly how it was? Or do you want to kind of stamp your take? You know, do you want your personality imparted onto that team?
Absolutely.
And this dude's just going to drop $6 billion on the franchise. Now, the hope is that it gets left to be run the way it needs to be run. But when it comes to some, especially like Chisholm has said that he's a lifelong Celtics fan. So he's either going to be all in on JB or all out, because that's kind of like, it feels like once Marcus Smart left the roster, everybody had to pick a side on Jaylen. You were either all in or you were all out. That's how it felt. And Chisholm might be looking at this like, yo, this is like $53, $57, $61, and $64.9 million we're on the hook for year after year with Jaylen. But what could we get in return for flipping Jaylen? And can we get younger and have this young team so we can play faster around Jason? I think there's a world where that loyalty isn't really there from the ownership now, because Wick was there when Jaylen was drafted. Wick watched Jaylen and saw the work that went into Jaylen becoming an all-NBA guy, an NBA Finals MVP. Chisholm hasn't got that. He hasn't got that level of loyalty because he's new there. And there's a world where I think he could be like, let me see what Atlanta would be willing to give up. Because Atlanta have got some good young pieces. They've got Rissachet from Italy, from France, that got his first overall draft pick last year. They've got Trey Young. They've got Dyson Daniels. They've got a bunch of like fun guys that you could kind of build a package around. I don't envision it happening this year, but I think as we get towards the middle or end, well, the middle's 2026, 27. As we get towards like 2027, 2028 season, with 2 years left on that deal, I think you start genuinely hearing some trade buzz around Jaylen Brown. But that's 2 years away. I do not expect it to happen now, unless all of a sudden this team struggles incredibly bad this season.
Yeah, but then the offer has got to be like astronomical.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like, we're talking through the roof, you know, because if Jaylen Brown is at a pinnacle, which is a high level, I'm expecting him to be all NBA again, you know.
Me too.
Depending on injuries, depending on health, excuse me, because that's just who he is. I just feel like once you're an all NBA player, you know what it takes to go back into that. And it was unfortunate that he was unhealthy toward the end of last season and missed it because of the amount of games he couldn't play. And so I expect him to get back to that status even without Jason Tatum. And so if he's at that pinnacle and there's an offer that's made that, you know, a team can't refuse. Now, I don't want to get into all the penalties and all that. I don't know anything about that. I'm just saying if there's an offer made and the Celtics, Wick and Bill, I think Wick still, I don't know if Wick has any power, but I think he's still part of the ownership until he's still in there.
Yeah, he's called an alternate governor, so I think he's like the advisor now. You know what I mean? Like,
awesome.
I don't think he's got veto power or anything like that, but I think he'll be a trusted voice.
Okay, I respect that. So, like I said, like if there's an offer that they can't refuse, then I mean, I guess you jump on it, and
Yeah,
you know. But to the story that's out right now, it's a take. And I'm just not buying any of it as of right now. It just doesn't even feel right. I think JB is more about health and getting back to the level of basketball that he's used to putting out. You know,
I think as well it's worth noting that this radio interview he had was in Atlanta, in his hometown. There's a world, like, I don't understand why anyone would expect him to not at least feign being open to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's in his hometown on a local radio station being asked if he would be open to playing for the Hawks. He's not going to say no, but he didn't say yes either. He just kind of was like, if it happens, I'd be okay with it. That, like, he wasn't like, yeah, trade me now, I want to get out of Boston. It wasn't like,
right.
It was just like, yo, my grandma said she'd like to see it. My friends would like to see it. Like, he grew up dreaming of being in a Hawks jersey, guaranteed, because he grew up in Atlanta.
1,000%.
You know what I mean? So I think that the definitely, like, the child in him and the family person in him would be open to that, and I don't see why anyone would be against him saying that. I get that you shouldn't do it because you play for the Celtics and blah blah blah, but he was just being honest, and he wasn't really saying anything that anyone else wouldn't say. That's like saying to LeBron, would you like to retire in Cleveland? He'd probably be like, if they make me an offer next year when I'm a free agent, then we'll see what happens. It's the same shit. It's literally the same shit. So I'm okay with it. I don't think it needs to be blown out of proportion. It will be, and I think that
It will be. It will be. It's Jaylen Brown.
the next 12 months are going to be Trae Young trade proposal after Trae Young trade. We're going to see so many ways that the Celtics could get Trae Young for Jaylen Brown. I've already found two.
Well, let me ask that though, because I'm not a huge Trae Young fan. Phenomenal basketball player. I'm just not a huge fan. Would you be open? You, not the Celtics, but would you? Okay, I didn't. Okay, I
No.
won't even go. Okay, all right.
Defense
All right.
wins championships.
100%.
And Trae Young does not have defense.
Liability every single time he steps out on the.
And I
on the
think that
basketball court.
I would very much be interested to see how much. I'd love to see the amount of space that Jason Tatum had with Trae Young on the floor. And I think those two together would be box office in terms of offense would be ridiculous. But there's only
See that right there. That's you. I wish you wouldn't have brought up that scenario.
It's true though.
No, it is 100% true. But my point is, offense sells tickets.
That's a really good point.
This is where the ownership comes in, and this is my gripe. This is my little wrinkle of time that I get nervous about with the new owner. I felt like with Wick, I knew who he was. We got to grow with Wick, and we knew what he was about. He was definitely about the team. He really didn't do anything outside of making sure that the players that he wanted or the players that the coaches wanted were here, and they took care of it. He took care of stuff. You get a new owner in here, and I'm not saying the Celtics are struggling for money, but dang, like offense do sell tickets, man. Defense win championships. That's the little ripple I can see happening where the owner wants to spruce up the place a little bit, like you said, like he's going to invest in his place, and you know.
I mean,
maybe
he's
he'll
talking
try
about buying a whole new stadium or buying the
Oh my
TD
God.
garden. Like, you need to generate money somewhere, right? And you need.
Oh my goodness, I didn't even know that.
So it's like, okay, could you imagine this? Trae Young, Jason Tatum, and an elite rim running big, a lob threat big.
of course I can
That
imagine it.
offense would be ridiculous. Now, again, I'm completely out on it. Yeah, you'd get rim protection, but it's so difficult to hide Trae Young defensively. If you look at what Atlanta have done in recent years, they brought in DeJounte Murray, one of the better on-ball defenders in the league. Didn't work. He needed the ball as well to be effective offensively. It was just a bit of a weird fit. DeJounte Murray goes. They bring in Dyson Daniels. Dyson Daniels is more of an off-ball threat offensively, and he really helped bring out the best in Trae Young. Those two together are actually really good. And Trae Young's defensive level went up because he was like, water, rising tide lifts all ships and stuff. But if you look at years before Dyson Daniels and understand that Dyson Daniels is a special defensive talent and there are not many that you can replicate that with, and you look at the way they've tried to give Trae rim running bigs, Clint Capella, they've tried to give him defensive wings to try and hide him that way. They've gave him Murray. Everything they've tried to do to hide or protect Young on defense until this Dyson Daniels acquisition has failed. And I think that when you're the Celtics and you're trying to win a championship to get the best out of Jason Tatum once he's back and now he's in his prime, you do not want a guard where you keep needing to change the supplementary pieces until you find somebody that makes up for a lot of his deficiencies. Now, the problem is, as you said, in an NBA 2K world, in a highlights world, in a we want to make money on YouTube world, Tatum, Young, and insert rim running big man here would be insane.
It would be
But I'm against it.
bananas. It would be ridiculous.
It would.
But that's that would be crazy. I mean, I don't even want to think about anything like that because I feel like I'm curious to see, this upcoming season if there are any changes in the system that that's ran by our coach. Like, is he gonna change up the theory of offense? Are we gonna still try to be that 3-point shooting team, knowing you're gonna be missing one of your biggest 3-point shooters in Jason Tatum? Does it change? Does it go back to more of a defensive mindset? I think you get, I don't want to say elite scoring from Simons, but he can score. So I'm curious to see how that the theory of the way that the team is going to score is going to be this year.
I think that when you look at the front court and how screwed that front court is, like the center position is bad, the power forward position is bad, the depth at the three, bad. There's just a lot going wrong right now in terms of like talent that I don't understand that what they would do if they tried to space the floor, because you've got Jaylen Brown, not exactly an elite 3-point threat. He's better in the mid range. He can hit them. He can knock down, catch and shoot deep shots, but he's better when he's driving off the catch, shooting in the mid range, pressuring the rim, working at the mid post. You've got Derek White. I like him. I like him shooting the free. Let him shoot the free all day long. Sam Hauser, let him shoot the free. Peyton Pritchard, let him shoot the free. But where else is there? Luka Garza's unproven. Nemi couldn't shoot the free in the NBA if you wanted him to. Xavier Tillman, I don't even know what he looks like anymore. He's been gone that long. We ain't seen him in so long. He's buried at the end of the bench injured. Chris Boucher can probably hit the free, but he's old. I don't know, man. I think that they have to change. I think Brad mentioned during this summer that they'd play at a higher tempo. They want to kind of replicate some of what you saw Indiana doing. Don't forget, the NBA is a copycat league. And
100%.
The Pacers cooked everybody with elite conditioning and just did not stop running. I call it the Coach Carter offense, right? Do you remember Coach Carter?
Yeah, man.
It's like,
one of my favorite movies.
What did we do in
People don't
practice?
like it.
We ran.
Yeah.
So what you want us to do today?
Threw up. Remember them suicides,
Yeah,
bro?
bro.
Yo, it's funny because
on the line.
get your hand. That was my movie. Sam, I told Sam could play a role, but no, seriously though, because that, how much of JB will be infused in the offense with the new pieces.
I think it'll be built around him.
But how though? Because
Yeah, that's true.
we need him facilitating too. Because I feel like Jaylen Brown right now has the best vision on the basketball court.
Without
Now, he doesn't
Tatum
make the
there,
best-
yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Because I'm linking life without Tatum right now. But I feel like Brown has the best vision. Doesn't mean he makes the right play though, because we've seen him not make the right play time after time after time. I think it has to change this season. So how do you build around that? Like, if he's not a playmaker, is that what you're pumping into him as Coach Mazzulla? Like, yo, man, I'm gonna need you to be more of a playmaker. Let the offense flow. You'll get the ball back. Like, you know what I mean?
I think it's going to be a lot of downhill playmaking this year. So I think what's going to happen is we've got so used to all the playmaking happening around the perimeter. A lot of screening actions, run pick and roll, run secondary screens, spring guys free, find the open man, let them shoot. I think what we're going to see this year is a lot of driving to the rim, getting downhill, and then making reads out of like when defenses collapse. So a lot of driving kick. It's called
Okay.
I like to call it a
that.
spray offense, right? You drive, you spray the ball to whoever's open. I think we're going to see a lot more of that, we saw a lot of that during Mazzulla's early, when he first took over from Ime Udoka. It was a very drive and kick heavy offense. And then as Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis got injected into the rotation, it became more perimeter based with less drive and kick. So I think paint touches are going to go through the roof for this team. I think we won't see as much post work, but we'll see a lot more paint touches, a lot of drive. The drive numbers should go up. Scoring off the catch will probably stay similar. It's just that the shots are going to be generated differently. And I feel like you're going to have guys catching the rock around the elbows and the free throw line rather than at the 3-point line, just because there isn't as much free point offense on this team now. You've got a couple of dudes that can really stroke it from deep, but the most guys are going to be more interior based, more off the dribble or at the rim.
Interesting. So the offense, the scoring is going to look different.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Malpractice if it doesn't. Malpractice.
as long as the defense, because when we had Udoka here, the defense was ramped up. It was ramped up to a whole nother level. And I don't know if we're going to get that with some of the new additions that we have. Are we going to ramp up the defense a little bit more, try to score off of defense, off of turnovers, off of rebounds, off of just off the defense?
I think that Josh Minott could be a guy that surprises us this year. I think if you're going to find anybody that's going to be a defensive gem in the rough, Like, and I'm excluding Nimi from this conversation because we've already seen Nimi for 2 years. He can't be a surprise to you when you've seen him for 2 years. I
Correct.
think Josh Minot could be the guy where we're like, yo, this guy's got something, man. Like, he's just going to be gritty, kind of like what O'Shea Brissett was, right? But I think Minot's a little bit more polished, or at least has a little bit more upside. But I think he's going to be a lot of energy. I think he's going to be pesky, kind of a cross between what we saw from Jaden Springer and O'Shea Brissett over the last few years. Whether or not he manages to make an impact or even get minutes, I don't know. But I think if he plays, he'd be a guy that we're like, yo, this dude can give you some good defensive minutes. I'm going to be doing a deep dive into him over the next week or two when I get time. But at the moment, I'm kind of hoping he's the pickup where we're like, yo, dude can make a difference.
That's what's up. Like I said, I just, those are the things that I think of.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
Moving forward, because without your main piece, it's gotta be generated a little differently. Like, it's gonna look a lot different out there on the basketball court. But I know what I am. I'm 100% confident in Jaylen Brown, and I believe he's 100% all in this season. And for me, it just comes down to health and how can you manage and keep Jaylen Brown healthy, especially if you're ramping up the energy that he's going to have to use to get to the rim, to drive and kick. He's probably going to get contact with no calls. They don't call foul when we drive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's wear and tear on the body. And so, like, just little things. But I'm 100% confident in Jaylen Brown wanting to be here for right now. That's why I said that initial, clip that we listened to.
Cap.
I was just like, oh, this is cap. You know what I mean? Like, for right now. But I don't think it's something to look into in the future, because home is where the heart is. Everybody wants to go home. You ever go on a trip and just couldn't wait till you got back home? I mean, you literally was having fun, but then it comes to that. It's that one day where you just ready to go home. Yeah, everybody.
And he's been on a long ass trip, dude.
Right.
You know what I mean?
From California, right, to Boston.
Yeah, and like gets to go home a couple of times a year, but then has to come back to Boston. Like, I'm with you. I don't think it happens anytime soon. I also don't believe it's a move that Jaylen would push for right now. But I think that as we get deeper into this contract, as he gets closer to the end of his prime, if he does want to be the guy on a team, yeah, I understand. I actually think he's earned that right. I think he's earned the opportunity to be that guy. And I think he's earned the opportunity to choose where that team will be and who that team is. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was the Hawks. And that's me. I don't think it's happening anytime soon, but I think it's a possibility down the line. I'm curious what everybody watching is thinking. Hit me up in the comments. Let us know what you thought. Do you think he's on his way out? Are you happy with the comments? Do you understand them? I don't care what you say. Just say something. It's nice. I like to hear from y'all. Me and Wayne will be back next Wednesday. I'll be here tomorrow with Billy and then some solo shows as well to keep y'all updated. I'll catch everybody soon. Wayne, man, let everybody know where they can catch your football content, homie.
Hey, man, I cover the NFL, the 49ers, man, right here on YouTube at the Wayne Breezy. So everywhere you can find me there. And hopefully when the season kicks off, I'll be back, Bleacher Report, covering the Celtics as well.
And with that, I'm going to let everybody get out of here. Everybody have a great day. Peace.